So, I mean, what kind of things? I mean, historically, what kind of things have influenced our holiday buying patterns in previous years? What kind of things have we looked at?
I think it's always been where our friends and family have gone, where's new. I always use the phrase dinner party currency. So, you want to be the first person of your group of friends to go to a particular destination. It becomes that dinner party currency. So I think that's been one of the key drivers in recent years. It's that as
Keeping ahead of the Joneses.
yeah, pretty much. As the world has opened up, so down the world travel market, there'll be 182 different countries and regions. So pretty much every country in the world. And we're going to be signing, £3 billion worth of business deals. And those deals are, effectively the holiday packages that we'll see on the brochures and on the websites for us to, to pick and choose as to where we go on holiday. So we sort of, for a long period of time, certainly for the beginning of the evolution of the travel industry, there was quite that kind of innocence of exactly as you say, dinner party currency, keeping up with the Joneses or keeping in front of the Joneses. But now the world seems to have got a little bit more serious, and there's the terrorism incidents and concerns over safety, etc. And then you've got stories around the news, I guess, like the independence of Catalonia as an example, of Trump being in charge at the US, and all these factors, all these level of political uncertainty that then might make us think again about necessarily if we want to go to a particular country. So now it's such a complex conundrum, I guess.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because I mean, I know that there was a massive rise in the staycation, if you like, as it was so nattily named, where people decided to holiday in the United Kingdom, which I've got to say I've got nothing against. I was talking to someone the other day who was off down to Cornwall at the weekend, and I just went, half a century on the planet, never been to Cornwall. And I've always lived in the UK, and it's one of those things where there is so much of our own country that we don't go out and discover. And I guess that's weather related, isn't it? I mean, we associate holidays, foreign holidays, with glorious sunshine and lazing by a pool, as well as doing the stuff that's activity led. But like you say, there's been massive political upheaval. We've had terrorist incidents, not just further afield, not just in the Middle East, not just in America, but on our doorstep in Europe. We've had stuff happen in Paris, we've had stuff happen in Germany, we've had stuff happen in the UK, and it just kind of I think it scares people.
I think it does, but I think at the same time, quite perversely, when you get those attacks in the UK, it makes you realise that it can happen to you wherever you are. So it kind of adds that level of resilience at the same time. And us Brits, we've always wanted to travel, as you said. We've always wanted that sun. We've always wanted our week or 2 weeks in the sun, get our vitamin D. And that's going to continue, and we're just going to continue to travel as we always have done. But you're right from a staycation perspective. I mean, that came in pretty much really when we had the recession. So people used to do lots of mini trips to Europe in effect, and then as we started to kind of watch our wallets a little bit more, they started to be trips to the UK. And then I think as a nation we sort of realised, well, actually we've got quite a nice country as well, instead of always needing to go away. So those, even now I guess we're on a slightly better financial footing as a country, and I've probably many of us individually as well. People are still taking those trips, those weekends away around the UK, as opposed to maybe 10 years ago where they would be overseas. So I think it's quite, from a UK tourism perspective, it's quite a nice mix now where, we're having our week or 2 weeks in the sun as we're going to do, because we always feel that we're sun deprived, but at the same time we're also kind of enjoying our own country maybe a bit more than what we did 10-15 years ago.
So which countries have been most affected by political upheaval and what we've seen in the news and hurricanes and all that kind of malarkey? I mean, for example, did the fact that the States has been awash with hurricanes, it would appear, never out of the news these days, has that really affected travel towards the States, or is that more the domain of a man called Donald?
I think it's more a domain of the president, to be honest, and that impact that his policies have had, and the level of news that he's getting. Obviously, the Caribbean has also been impacted by those hurricanes, but they're pretty much open for business at the moment. Most of the countries are fine, and they're going to be a large contingent from the Caribbean at World Travel Market this year, very much promoting that fact. And then closer to home, you've had Egypt and Sharm el-Sheikh, and then you've also had Tunisia, which has obviously suffered from the terrorist attack in 2015. But Tunisia again...
Has that recovered, though?
Well, the flights have just been allowed back in from the UK. So Tunisia will be at World Travel Market this year, promoting the fact that we can now fly direct from the UK over there. And to be honest, from the research that we've done of our buyers, it seems like there's a real desire to get in. So TUI and Thomas Cook, two of the big companies, have certainly expressed the fact that they're going to start introducing flights back. We've had 2 out of 10 of all of our buyers are coming to World Travel Market to sign those £3 billion worth of deals. They're going to look to talk to Tunisia to see if they can get to the point where they can agree a deal as well. So it all seems like Tunisia, whereas flights are only starting to be put on, but it seems like it could well recover and come back. I mean, it was one of the the real key destinations from a UK travel perspective, before the incident. So certainly looks like it could come back.
So, what are your predictions for the next 12 months then, as regards what our buying patterns of holidays are going to be?
From what we've seen, both from our surveys of UK holidaymakers and also of the industry, Italy seems to be top of the tree at the moment. Italy seems to be the most popular one, so that's where most UK holidaymakers are thinking of for next year. And also, quite coincidentally, that's where most of our buyers seem to be looking, that they want to purchase holidays purchase product at WTM this year, so holidaymakers can purchase that. So the industry seems to be aligned there. Greece as well is going to do very well and is going to be very popular. Again, Italy, Greece and Spain have benefited from the problems that kind of Egypt and Tunisia have had in the past, and that looks like that's going to continue. The US is still going to do well. I mean, it has had an impact due to the president and people maybe being against some of his policies, but it's still going to be a popular destination for us to go to. Canada is another one that's growing and maybe benefiting a bit from the US, and also Mexico and Cancun is another area that seems to again be benefiting for those people that are thinking from a long haul perspective and maybe might be turned off from some of the words they're hearing from the US president. Canada and Mexico seem to be benefiting from that.
I'm going to say, I mean, I know we talk about the terrorist threats that have, some of which have been successful and have caused devastation, and these kind of things do tend to turn us off going places. And I know there's even now there's like you can always sense a little bit of angst with people getting on planes to head abroad. But what I would point out, I mean, you pointed out there, Cancun, Mexico. It's been a holiday destination for donkey's years. And for how many years have we known that Mexico City, for example, is one of those places where you wander down the wrong street? Do you know what I mean? And you might not emerge with your kidneys intact. It's an incredibly violent city in places. Where where gang culture has gone absolutely wild. Yet it doesn't stop people going to Cancun on holiday. We kind of got used to the indigenous violence in places, and now we only kind of respond more to the shock terrorist stuff that goes on.
I think it's interesting. I think it can do with a lot of people's knowledge of geography. So, when you had the outbreak in Africa, the SARS outbreak, you had South Africa was really struggling from the fact that because it was Africa, everyone was assuming that it would impact South Africa. But in effect, London was nearer to where the outbreak was. So I think it can just depend from a geographical perspective as to how well people actually understand what's going on. And also you've got the Foreign and Commonwealth Office website, which I would definitely recommend all of your listeners to have a look at before they go anywhere. It could be where you get to the level of where it's kind of tells people, advises against travel, or it can just be simple tips as to what to do when you're out late at night, or as you said, what streets not to turn down. So, before you go anywhere, even if it's somewhere where you feel incredibly safe, like a Spain or Greece, always just have a look at that website just to see what the latest advice is from the government.
And also, I've got to say, I think when you're spending a load of money, and let's be honest, holidays aren't cheap. And they're not the most expensive things in the world, but certainly there are times when I've looked at it and I've just thought, okay, me, the wife, the bairn, me mum, 2 weeks, all inclusive, Gran Canaries, £4,000, at that point I go, well, what about the other 50 weeks of the year? Yeah, and that's kind of my take on it. But I still think in a situation like that where you're spending a lot of money, yeah, I'd rather sit down face to face with somebody, yeah, who works for a recognised travel company like yourself, and ask the questions and hope to get some professional advice, some professional insight from those people. Am I asking too much these days, Paul, or does that level of expertise still exist on the high street?
Oh, it definitely still exists. I think there's a split. So you've got when people are going to countries and resorts and destinations that they're very comfortable with and that they're used to going, maybe they've been a few times before, then those holidays are very much being purchased online. And the online purchasing of travel is without question growing. But then if you're going long haul, if you're going to somewhere maybe you haven't been before, somewhere where you're maybe not 100% sure about the security and safety of a destination, then that expertise and that knowledge is definitely there on the high street. There's also kind of a middle ground of people really now called home workers, who will in effect come to your house and sell you a holiday within your house. So they're fully qualified and reputable travel agents, but instead of you going to them on the high street, they'll come to your home.
I quite like that. That's an idea. That's kind of almost like best of both worlds, isn't it?
It is, exactly, yeah. And it has really, really taken off. So, and, particularly as more time poor we all become, it's a lot easier if someone can pop round after work and talk to you about your holiday than, you having to find time at lunch or after work or at the weekend to, go into the high street.
And where do we need to go for more information on all this, Paul?
Go to wtmlondon.com.